Hello. Hello guys. So, lahat ng sasabihin ko ngayon, just purely my opinion. Uh, this thing that we're going to be talking about today, actually tonight kasi gabi na ngayon. Gabi na nung na-record ko to eh. It's 8:50. Yan. So, coffee and issue, kwentuhan. Okay, so ngayon nauuso na naman yung crime na cyber libel. Ayan, ang dami-dami ngayong nasasampahan ng kaso sa cyber libel. Yung mga bumabanat sa mga politician natin na kesyo daw sila ganito, ganyan, binulsa yung ganito, binulsa yung ganyan. Naku, maraming ano dyan, maraming nasasampahan ng kaso. So, yun muna yung pag-uusapan natin. Kasi while I was browsing, it came to my attention na meron palang movement that are trying to decriminalize yung crime na libel. So, parang gusto nilang gawin, tanggalin na siya doon sa listahan ng mga ipinagbabawal na gawin. Gusto siyang ipatanggal as a criminal act. So, yun yung tinatawag nating decriminalization. So, whatever the things that I'm going to discuss in this video are clearly just my opinion. Disclaimer, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a lawyer. I do not have degree in law. So, I'm not going to talk about the legal aspect of the crime libel, but opinion lamang ng isang hamak na mamamayan. Okay, so una sa lahat, syempre, ano nga ba yung crime na libel? So we have in the revised penal code, crime libel is defined as, mahaba to guys, pakinggan niyo. I will be tignan niyo na lang sa screen. Crime of libel is defined as a public and malicious imputation of a crime. So basically, yung pagbibintang sa isang tao na siya ay nakakomit ng crime or meron siyang bisyo that is something like maybe related to crime, like for example pinagbintangan ka na gumagamit ka ng drugs. That's an imputation, malicious imputation of a crime. Pinagbibintangan ka na meron kang ginagawang masama, especially if not true. Or a defect. So basahin muna natin guys bago natin siya talakayin isa-isa. So crime of libel in Philippines is defined as a public and malicious imputation of a crime or of a vice or defect, real or imaginary, or any act, omission, condition, status, or circumstances tending to cause dishonor, discredit, contempt of a natural person or juridical person, or to blacken the memory of one who is dead. So that is how revised penal code define the act of libel. Okay, so those act, yung malicious imputation of a crime or a vice or a defect, is considered as libelous act. Ayan. So yung word kasi natin guys, meron yung sinasabi niyang public and malicious. So dapat yung malicious imputation na yan must have been done in public. So it's not just between you and him. There must be the reference. I'm not sure. Ano ba yung tamang word dun? Dapat ito ay nasaksihan ng publiko. Ayan. For be it to considered as, libel. Dapat naisa publiko. Kasi kung yan lang naman ay between you and him, like for example, we're texting, sabi ko, ay, walang hiya ka, addict ka, gumagamit ka ng drugs, ganon. Between you and me, that would not be qualified, the act will not be qualified as libel kasi, there might be other crime na pwede mong isampa if that happens, but not libel since it was not publicized. So if that is public, like for example, you are in a crowded place, nasa matao kayong lugar, then sabihan ka na ikaw na tao ka, gumagamit ka ng drugs, ayan. So ikaw na tao ka, may 5 kang asawa, that's very malicious imputation, kasi pag sinabi natin malicious, you cannot justify that. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin, I'm just telling that para matuto siya, para kapulutan ng aral, di ba? Is there a way to justify yung sabihin mo, ikaw, ang dami mong asawa, ganun. So, is there a way to justify that action, that libelous action? I would say libelous action. Make it more acceptable to the public and to you as the person na pinagsabihan ng ganun. Wala, di ba? So, clearly, the purpose of stating this word is just for you to, or to cause dishonor. Yan. Siraan ka. Siraan yung puri mo. Yung pagkatao mo. No? Parang, yan. Siraan yung pagkatao mo. Contempt. Yan. So, yun yung mga expected result of a libelous act. Or the libelous act that has been done tends to produce dishonor, discredit, and contempt. Ang isa pa dito is regardless, kasi pwede nyo tanongin, meron kasi yung iba sabi na, sinasabi ko lang naman yung totoo na 5 kasi asawa niya, dahil sinasabi ko lang totoo. The fact is that, sabi nga dito, di ba yung definition, real or imaginary. So kahit totoo na 5 nga yung asawa niya, you have no right to publicize. Wala kang karapatan na ipagkalat yan para nang sa ganun masira siya, masira yung kanyang pagkatao. So be it true or not, or gawa-gawa mo lang, if that action, yung bintang mo sa kanya, yung sinabi mo sa kanya in public, cause dishonor to him or to her, discredit or contempt to her or to him, then definitely that would be considered as libelous. Tapos sa batas pa natin kasi dito medyo naiiba when it comes to libel. Once na sinampahan ka ng libel, the burden of proof lies on the defendant, sa'yo. Na ikaw ang magpatunay na yung sinabi mo is not for him to be dishonored, not for him to be discredited, not for him to be contempted. So, ikaw ang magpatunay na yung mga sinabi mo pala ay hindi naman para siraan siya. So, for example, sinabihan mo siyang 5 asawa mo, malandi kang babae, ikaw dapat ang magpatunay na yung mga sinabi mong yun ay hindi upang siraan siya. So, medyo hindi ko alam. So, marami pang mga dapat pag-usapan dito, So, sabi natin, it must be publicized. Yun yung una, publicize. Sinabi mo in public sa karamihan ng tao. O di naman kaya, kasi ngayon uso yung Facebook kaya dyan pumapasok yung tinatawag nating online libel, cyber libel. Okay, so nag-away kayo, may kaaway ka, pinost mo sa Facebook, kung ano-anong kasiraan yung pinost mo sa Facebook, kaya at least papasok yan yung tinatawag nating online libel or cyber libel. Mas mataas konti yung parusa kaysa doon sa libel. So, considered ba na publication yung pagpo-post nyo sa Facebook? Definitely. Oo. So kahit na sabihin mong konti lang ang nakakita, that is considered as publication. So pwedeng pumasok pa rin yan. Pwedeng matawag pa rin yang libel, cyber libel. So mag-ingat-ingat tayo guys sa mga pinupost natin. Recently lang yan, may nahuli. Pinagbintangan na si barangay captain. Ayun, binulsa yung SAP. Si Mayor, binulsa yung SAP. So, anong nangyari? Binalikan at sinampahan ng kaso. Anong kaso? Cyber libel. So, sinong kawawa? Kaya, we must be very careful sa mga ginagawa natin online. Hindi tayo basta-basta nagbibintang. Kahit sabihin mong totoo. Like for example, totoo naman talagang kinurakot ni barangay captain yung pondo. Tapos, pinost mo pa sa Facebook. Ayan. So, sabi nga dito sa batas natin, real or imaginary. So, kahit nagawa-gawa mo o totoo naman talagang nangyari, then, pinost mo pa sa Facebook, ikaw yung babalik. Huwag mo i-Facebook. Ipatulfo mo. Okay. So, again, whether the act is real or imaginary, as long as it will cause dishonor, discredit, or contempt to the person, then that would be considered as, libel. Okay? And dapat siya publicize. So, if that is only between you and him, kayo lang yung nag-uusap, nasa gitna kayo ng kabundukan, tapos nagmumurahan kayo, nagbibintangan kayo, kayo lang dalawa yung nakakarinig, then not libel. Maybe other crime like oral defamation and I don't know, marami sigurong pwedeng isampa dyan, but not libel. Kasi libel needs to be published. Okay? So, ginaryo mo. Ayan. So, yung mga pwede rin niyang gawin kasi dati-dati we have the yung mga dyaryo pinapublish ng mga journalist na si ganito, binulsa yung ganyan. So, yan, that can be considered as libel. Okay? Then, meron pa dito. We read the continuation. So, real or imaginary, or any act, omission, condition, status, or circumstances tending to cause dishonor, discredit, or contempt of a natural person or juridical person. So, what if hindi naman siya by words? So, for example, ang ginawa mo, gumawa ka ng painting ni Mayor na kung saan lahat ng pera binubulsa niya. Then yung mukha niya talaga yung nandun sa drawing. So, painting, I should say. Would it be considered as libelous act? It can be. Kasi the purpose of this is the act cause dishonor to that person. If it is, then definitely that would be considered as libel. So it's not just limited by words. It can also be through act, omission, or any other condition that is similar to malicious imputation. Okay? So, another thing is that the victim may be a natural person or a juridical person. Ayan. So it can be a natural person or a juridical person. Natural person, we are a natural person. We have the natural rights. Tao tayo. We are the natural person. Sino yung juridical person? So these are organization, companies, and corporations that have the same, entitled by the law of the same right as the natural person. So, sila, yung mga korporasyon or mga organization na kung saan binigyan ng ating batas ng karapatan na kaparehas nating mga tao. So, a certain institution, yan, a certain institution is considered as juridical person as long as it is recognized by our law. So for example, yung isang kumpanya, ayan, let's say, galit na galit ka sa kumpanyang yan kasi may ayaw ka sa kanya. So anong ginawa mo? Sabi mo, ay, yung kumpanyang yan, lahat ng mga empleyado dyan, yung mga may-ari dyan, kurakot. That's libel. Okay? So hindi lang tao, even companies, corporations, organizations can be a victim of libel. Kung meron kayong kinaiinisan na isang organization, corporation, or company, business establishment, institution, siniraan nyo yan in public, yan, kayo ang babalikan yan. That is considered as libel. Okay? So mag-ingat tayo. No? Mag-ingat tayo sa mga ganyan. Baka mamaya hindi natin alam pala. Inaabangan lang na meron tayong masabing masama para tayo naman yung mabalikan. No? Mahirap na yan. Kasi the victim of libel, as I've stated, it's not only natural person. Hindi lang po tao. Even juridical person. They can be a victim of libel. So pag siniraan mo yung isang kumpanya, kahit sabihin nating totoo yung mga sinabi mo, then that words o yung mga sinabi mo patungkol sa kanila will cause them dishonor. Masisira yung kanilang reputasyon bilang isang kumpanya, bilang isang organisasyon or institusyon. Ikaw ang babalikan at pwede yung sampahan ng libel. Unless you can justify that your purpose is not to dishonor or discredit them. Pero mahirap yun. So, yan. And the last sentence here is, or to blacken the memory of one who is dead. So, it applies also even if the person is dead already. So, pag patay na yung isang tao, siniraan mo pa, libelous pa rin yun. Crime pa rin yun. So, mag-ingat pa rin. No? We do not accuse someone publicly. Kasi kung meron kayong mga akusasyon laban sa isang tao, laban sa isang institusyon, you go to the proper venue. Hindi yung i-Facebook mo, i-chismis mo, no? Kung ano-ano pang gawin mo. You go to the proper venue. We have court, we have different courts. Don't come if you think that you are being abused by a certain person, if you think that that person is committing a crime or doing something that is considered as crime, edi magsampa ka ng kaso. Huwag mong i-Facebook, huwag mong siraan, huwag mong i-chismis and so on. Dapat nasa tamang venue ka. Kasi if you do that in a proper venue, then there is no libel and such. The same thing for institution, organizations and corporations. Kung galit ka o tingin mo inaagrabyado ka ng isang organisasyon, isang institusyon, you go to the proper venue. Hindi yung chismisan or whatsoever, ikaw pa ang mababaliktad dyan. So, yan lang naman. Ngayon, that is what libel means. In my understanding, that is what libel means. Kanina, while I was browsing, having my coffee, I came across a petition that aims to decriminalize libel. So ano yung gusto nilang mangyari? They wanted libel to be listed as an act that is not a crime. Gusto nilang gawin ang libel na isang katanggap-tanggap ng behavior. So, in my perspective, in my opinion, di ba, as a member of the criminology profession, I do not agree. Basically for a reason that even if libel is, not a big deal maybe for them since akusasyon lang naman dyan. Wala namang physical victim here since, maybe emotional maybe yung tama niyan kasi yung mga paninira na ganyan. But then, you try to see, are we saying that to accuse somebody of something bad, is unacceptable behavior? Katanggap-tanggap ba yan? So, parang, I don't know, maybe they wanted to make it na pag sinabihan ka ng masama, ikaw, isa kang masamang tao, wala kang kwenta, pabigat ka sa bayan, ano pa ba? Hindi pa masakit yun. Kasi masakit, like sabihin sa'yo, malandi ka, ano pa ba? Haliparot, kurakot, ayan. Ano pa? So yung mga ganun ba? Yung mga talagang hindi makain ng asong mga salita. Kahit sabihin natin totoo, hindi. Pero talagang masakit pag narinig. So do you think that making that as, acceptable behavior will have no effect to criminality, to peace and order in our country? Diba? Kung isipin ninyo, kung okay lang pala na magbintangan tayo, then what will happen? It will make the society more chaotic. Diba? So, magiging norm na natin na magbintangan whenever magkakaroon tayo ng away. Okay lang na pagbintangan mo siyang ganito, ganyan. Okay lang pagsabihan mo ng ganito, ganyan. But, ano naman yung magiging effect nito, kumbaga, sa'yo bilang isang tao na inaakusahan ng kung ano-ano? Di ba? For example, ayan, si Pedro. Tinawag siya ng kanyang kumpare, pare, ano ka, maliit yang sa'yo. Walang kwenta yan, paputol mo na lang. Hindi na. Take that for example. Would that be libelous? Would that cause dishonor or discredit or contempt to Mr. Pedro na sabihan ganun? In public, ha? Let's say for example, they are in a public market, ang dami-daming tao, then here comes yung kumpare niya shouting, "Oy Pedro, maliit yang sayo." What will be the, ano naman ang magiging reaction, for example, of Mr. Pedro? Mapapahiya siya, di ba? And if you are in the place, in the shoe of Mr. Pedro, what will you do? Na anong gagawin mo? Yung ganun yung sasabihin niya sa'yo. Well, syempre, as a human being, the initial tawag doon? The initial move siguro ni Mr. Pedro is to go and maybe punch or beat yung nagsabi niya, beat yung kumpare niya, and so on. Now, Mr. Pedro committed a crime, right? Kasi syempre, sa inis niya, sa galit niya, dahil doon sa pinagsasabi ng kanyang kumpare, siguro, nabugbog niya, nasuntok niya, o nasugod niya, or most likely, pwedeng napatay niya kasi napahiya siya. Di ba? Sabi nga ng kasabihan natin, when you corner a dog, it has no choice but to fight. Yan. Pag na-corner na ang isang tao, ganun rin. Pag na-corner ng isang tao, wala na yung choice kung hindi lumaban. So, the peace and order will be affected. Kasi imagine mo, hindi na nga sila pwedeng magsampa ng kaso because he wanted libel to be decriminalized. So ano pa yung gagawin nila? If they will be reporting that incident na etong si ganito, tinawag akong ganyan eh, napahiya ako sa mga tao, ano sasabihin nila? Well, pasensya na. Wala tayong crime na pwedeng isampa sa kanya. Tanggapin na lang natin yung nangyari. O, hindi, mas lalo namang hindi katanggap-tanggap yon. So, in my opinion, if they would decriminalize libel, kung alisin nila ang crime na libel, mas dadami na naman yung pwedeng crime na makomit in relation doon sa mga action that is considered as libelous. Diba? Pwedeng itong mga tao na pinagbibintangan ng kung ano-ano because, wala na yung protection nila to libel, will be triggered to commit an action that is already considered as crime. No? So, yan yung nakikita natin pwedeng mangyari once you decriminalize the act of libel. So, sana, yun yung maisip nila. Especially today, online cyber libel is very common. So, for example, ikaw, a public official, is being accused of corruption and you have no means, you have no protection against this type of action coming from the people, what would you do? Diba? So, imbes na ito na lang yung magiging remedy mo sana to go after them in a proper way, tatanggalin pa, then, I don't know. Siguro, it will affect much the peace and order of our country if we would remove this. Siguro they already see that ang libel kasi in other countries is not punishable. Actually, the crime of libel is listed as one of the weirdest law in the world. Yung kakaibang pinagbabawal na act around the world. So maybe that's why they wanted to remove libel in our criminal law. I hope that they would realize that removing libel from the punishable act in our country will affect the peace and order in general. So, yan lang naman. I just came across that and I wanted to talk that that can be related in our profession also in criminology, since we're talking about acceptable behavior. How do we define crime? Does a certain act really needs to be defined as crime, di ba? Yung libel ba, deserve niya na ma-define siya as crime or kailangan na natin siyang decriminalize? So basically, those are just my opinion. I don't know if you have any other opinion relative to this matter. You may comment down below para malaman ko naman. Okay? So, yan lang. And thank you if you had finished listening to this opinionated discussion. If you have contradicting opinion, then feel free to comment it down below para mabalance din natin na hindi lang yung sa akin yung naririnig. Okay, so I'm going to finish my coffee and see you next time.